Good morning. Welcome to the shop. Alright, we're ready to start our test print. So what we're going to do first is go over to our touch screen, go to prepare, and just hit PLA, because that's what I'm using. So the heat beds and the nozzle, everything are going to heat up and be ready for PLA. Everything will be warm on the plates and either expanded or contracted, whatever they're going to do, by the time we're ready to hit print. That way it prints the way it's meant to be and everything is expanded to what it's supposed to be at. Alright, so let's go over to the computer, open Orca Slicer, and make our plate up, our print up. Alright, let's open up Orca Slicer. Let's open up Orca Slicer. And there's our 4 plates. 0, 1, 2, 3. Strange, huh? That it starts with 0, but so is the name Elegoo. Very strange, but it is what it is. So let's right click on our plate. Let's add primitive cube. Quick and simple. Maybe let me change this color, that way you could see a little better. We'll go with a blue, right? So there's blue. Alright, so we have our cube in the center of the plate. Let's click on it. Let's go up to scale. And then we'll go make sure uniform scale is unchecked. Let's go to size and let's put a big giant 600 millimeter X, 600 millimeter Y, and a little baby 0.3 millimeter Z. Enter. And we got a nice first layer right there. Nice thin first layer. Reaches out towards all the corners. The center is covered. All our seams are covered. So we could check everything. You'll be able to see all your dips and bumps and bruises. Your potholes. Alright, so that's that. Let's go to the settings menu now. In global, advanced. Layer height is going to be 0.3 and the first layer height 0.3. It should already be that way because I have this set on the 0.3 standard Elegoo with the 0.6 nozzle. I'm running Sunlu PLA Plus, and that is the Orange Storm GIGA. Alright, line width, just keep it default. First layer, keep it default, because that's going to be usually just be double your first layer height is usually your line width. That way they kind of mush together. Alright, nothing else changes there. Let's go to strength. We got our wall loops 3. We'll go with aligned rectilinear for top surface pattern, bottom surface pattern, sparse infill pattern. And that way we have nice, just long 45-degree angled lines, so you could see how it's running from one end to the other, one corner to the other, right over the center, over the seams. It's the best way to see everything. And the only other change is the bottom shell layers will just be 3. We don't need to go around the outside more than 3 times. Speed, we'll do some speed changes. We don't want to cook this thing because we might have to make our adjustments and stuff. So we don't want it flying off the board. You could always adjust your speed while it's going if you want to play around. And actually, if you stick around to the end of this video, after the end of this layer, we'll do another layer and I'll mess around with all the settings so you could see issues and problems and what's good and what's bad. So if you want to watch that, stick around after I peace out. Alright, first layer we'll do 30 millimeters a second. First layer infill we'll do 60. It's pretty quick. 60 is pretty quick. Outer wall 60. Inner wall 80. So that way we'll start flying around the square in the beginning. You know, 60 it'll jump to 80 and you could already see if you're going to have an issue at 80 and you could knock it back down. But I think we'll be pretty good. Supports shouldn't be no changes. Just make sure they're off. Under other, let's do 3 skirt loops. Yeah, we'll do 2. We only need 2 skirt loops. We just want to make sure all the air is out of the nozzle, make sure it's bled and purged, and we're printed smooth. So when we hop onto our first layer, we're ready to go. And we'll stay skirt distance. We'll do 10 millimeters away from the main square. Alright, and that's that. Everything else stays the same. So it's a very easy first layer. Instead of going and looking for someone else's first layer and trying to scale it up to work on the GIGA, you know, there might be an adjustment you didn't notice, something that's not going to work right on the GIGA. So just do it like this. It is very simple. That's it. Then we slice her up. Hit slice, slice her up. There's all your numbers, anything you want to check out. Then we hit print. Over here you get upload and print, and that's what you're gonna hit. Upload and print. Boom. Let's get to the GIGA and check this bad boy out. Alright, we're over at the GIGA, getting ready for our test print. First layer. The head's heading on down. This is what we got on our screen. Successfully sent over by Wi-Fi from the Orca slicer. No problems there. So I got 600 millimeters by 600 millimeters by 0.3 millimeters. Alright, hopefully this goes out without a hitch. If we see any issues, we'll try to adjust the Z up and down slightly to correct them. Alright, let's watch this bad boy. Alright, I want to take a break for a second to show you how to adjust the Z offset if you're a little too tight against the plate or a little too far off the plate. Right now, this print is perfect and I'm very happy with it. Let's go up to the screen and I'll show you what to do. Alright, so on the screen, you can hit your little setting gear, and boom, you have all your in-print functions. You can adjust your speed, faster, slower, your extrusion flow, and then over here you adjust your Z higher or lower by 0.01, 0.05. You can adjust by percentage on these. Over here you can adjust temperatures. You can adjust your fan. If you have more than one nozzle, you can make adjustments there. There's a lot you could do mid-print. Right now we're still good. I'm waiting to see what it looks like when we get to where the 4 plates meet. That's going to be an important area right there. So let's see what happens. Let's get back to the print. Sit back. Set you guys back down. Okay, right here I jumped the speed up 25%. So let's see how good it prints at a high speed. It's still looking very good. So I'm gonna let it run at that higher speed now. Let's see how it stays. Show you how I changed that speed. Change the speed. I changed it right here. You change your percent, how much you want something to move. I wanted it to go 25% faster, so it's on 25. Then I hit print speed, and it went faster. There's another 25. Now we're at 159% speed. That should kick in a second. Let's see how it does on that. Now we're a lot faster. We're looking good. Still looking good. Print speed up. Boom, now we're at 184%. Let's see what happens now. Still looking good. You know what? Let's crank. Let's see how fast this baby can go. Up. Up. See how far the numbers change if they go up 50. 209%. That's gonna be fast. Wow, still looking good. The lines are looking exactly the same as when I started slow. So I'm going to keep it at this speed till we get to the seams in the middle. And that's going to be the real test. Alright, back over at the laptop. You can see the camera. Looking good, watching the printer. You can see some of the stats there. Right now the speed is 78 millimeters a second. I think we're up from 30. I think we started at 30. I don't remember. It was either 25 or 30. Filament, 6.37 meters of filament. Not bad, not bad. We got our temperatures. And I'm in a cold garage with no heat. And it's still printing very well. Okay, I could see slightly more spacing between the layers at the higher speed. You know, your first layer is not really where you want high speeds, but I just wanted to try it out since this was my first print. So I dropped it down 25%. I'm going to drop it down a little bit more. You usually want your first layer to go a little bit slower than the rest of the layers. So I'm going to drop it back down. It should correct this issue. You can probably see it in the camera, the difference in this section right here. 59% faster than where we started. So let's see if we could get back to that. And I don't have to go much slower. Alright, we're about halfway there. I found my sweet spot, I think. So I'm going to show you what's going on and what's happened along the way here. So here's what my screen looks like now. I'm back to normal speed. You know, 100% we could put it at. That's where I ended up with my Z, where I like it. I raised the temperature of my nozzle 5 degrees Celsius, and I raised my heat bed to 60. Extrusion, I gave it a little more extrusion. And I'll show you where we're at with that. You see in the beginning here, these are the original slicer settings. It was good. I'm very happy with that. But then of course, you know, you got to mess around, check out the speeds and stuff. So over here, I sped up gradually. And this was at the highest speed point here. And we ended up with guitar strings. It couldn't stick. It was just too fast. So the only way I could see to cure that, I mean, it is the first layer. And you don't want speed like that in the first layer. But what could have helped it was more extrusion and a hotter plate. And a hotter nozzle. Because it needs to catch up. It needs to melt as fast as it's moving and come out as fast as it's moving. So everything would have to be increased at that speed, I think, to make it work. But I'm not going to mess with it because it's the first layer. So then I slow it back down. You can see on my tape. I slow it back down around here. We start to stick again. You know, it's still a little gapping. And then I want to see what it's like, because I'm still a little high off the bed. So I go back down a little too much here. You can see this, when you're high off the bed, see we're getting the guitar strings, it's barely sticking, it's not mushing together, it's not connecting to the piece next to it. So I start bringing it down tight, and then this is what you're going to get if you're too tight. I didn't want to go crazy or run it too long because I didn't want to scratch up my build plate or my nozzle. So then I started to gradually lift it back up off the plate till I found perfection right here. Look at that. That's perfect. No guitar stringing. You're not seeing the color of the build plate through the filament as much. These are my changes. I went back down to regular speed, 100%. I went 5 degrees hotter on the plate. I went 5 degrees hotter on the nozzle. And I raised my extrusion by 20%. And that gave me a very good print again, almost like the beginning, but even with a little less of the plate visible through the print. It's coming out excellent. So I'm going to let it continue. If there's major issues, I'll show you again, but I'm going to keep it like this and take a break because this is definitely a long print. And we'll see what we get. Experience all the ups and downs and the fasts and the slows. Or the high speeds and the slow speeds. I think that's a real word. Alright, we'll check back in a little bit. Alright, we're at the end of the line. On our first layer test print, as you can see, a bunch of different settings and speeds, extrusions and heights. Heights are on the first row. On the left, I did mostly speeds. We ended up finishing off with 300% speed at 120% extrusion, and it's coming out perfect. Coming out very nice. I have this one line here because I jumped the speed up again. Over here we did high speed before because I did the lower temperature here and the low extrusion. Up here is with the highest temperature, well not the highest temperature, with higher temperature on the nozzle and the bed and 120% extrusion, and I was able to get 90 millimeters a second I believe over here, which is pretty fast, and it's a very good first layer. So we got our original start, which was very good on the original slicer settings that you saw we set. I sped up gradually, but without increasing the heat or extrusion or anything. And we were like that. And that's from being too far off the bed, mainly. If I was closer to the bed, it might have been alright. Then I moved the Z down. And over here's what you get when you move the Z down too much. So that's with the Z down too much. Too close to the plate. And then here we come out excellent again. This is a little bit of warpage, I think, from the heat change when I boosted the heat up. That's okay. There's a couple spots like that where I think the board flexed a little just from the heat increase. I'd rather it stick and be connected like that than be like a guitar. And then over here you got your speeds, 150%, 200%, 400%, 500% would have probably worked if I was able to get more extrusion out of this. It only let me go up to 120. You know, and I don't want to mess with any temperatures. But at 300, it's perfect. 300% speed, 120% extrusion. So there you go, that's our first layer. I'm very happy with it because it stuck and worked fine where I expected it to stick and work fine. Where I kind of expected it to fail is where it failed. So that's when things are good. It didn't fail where it shouldn't have failed, which is great. And we could see right from those beginning settings, which are your most common settings, it would be fine the whole way. Nice slow speed. You're not touching nothing, it was good. Once you start touching things, and you gotta really dial it back in. But we got really nice and sticky and smooth towards the end. And this is it, it's the last corner. Banging it out. Drum roll, please. That was a cool noise. And there you go, it's the first print on the GIGA. Well, we both learned something today from our adjustments and settings and programming. It's pretty cool. Definitely a cool day. Next we'll finish the enclosure. I'm sure the enclosure is going to help too. Because a lot of these changes could also be from drafts, because we are in a garage with no heat. And it's still cold out. So a lot of this, we were fighting the cold also. So once it's enclosed and I put a heater in it, we'll definitely do a rerun of this and see what we get different. Alright guys, thanks for learning with me, and I hope you learned a little from me. And till the next time, peace! That's perfection. That is a perfect first layer right there. So I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to let this print and walk away and see what we get. But right here from the start, look at that. That is perfection. Perfection.